A president called her Aunty. Now, let's hear her words. Today is February 27th, 2026. I'm going to read you the history first and then the letter. Here's the history. Sojourner Truth to Roland Johnson. Sojourner Truth lived from around 1797 to 1883. She was an abolitionist, women's activist, and Pentecostal preacher, and she was born into slavery in Swartkill, New York, as Isabella Baumfree. She escaped to New York City and changed her name to Sojourner Truth when slavery was outlawed there in 1827. Truth, who dictated letters because she never learned to read or write, was a commanding orator who lectured widely. In this letter to Roland Johnson, who lived 1816 to 1886, he was an early supporter of abolition and he led the anti-slavery party in New York. Truth provides a detailed account of her meeting with President Lincoln. At the time, Truth worked in Washington, D.C. for the National Freedmen's Relief Association. Okay, now for the letter. At the top it says Freedmen's Village, Virginia, November 17th, 1864. Dear friend, I am at Freedmen's Village. After visiting the president, I spent 3 weeks at Mrs. Swiss Helms and held 2 meetings in Washington at Reverend Mr. Garnett's Presbyterian Church for the benefit of the Colored Soldiers Aid Society. These meetings were successful in raising funds. 1 week after I went to Mason's Island and saw the Freedmans there and held several meetings, remained a week and was present at the celebration of the emancipation of the slaves at Maryland and spoke on that occasion. It was 8 o'clock a.m. when I called on the president. Upon entering his reception room, we found about a dozen persons in waiting, among them 2 colored women. I had quite a pleasant time waiting until he was disengaged and enjoyed his conversation with others. He showed as much kindness and consideration to the colored persons as to the whites. If there was any difference, more. One case was that of a colored woman who was sick and likely to be turned out of her house on account of her inability to pay her rent. The president listened to her with much attention and spoke to her with kindness and tenderness. He said he had given so much he could give no more, but told her where to go and get the money and asked Mrs. C and then /N to assist her, which she did. The president was seated at his desk. Mrs. C said to him, "This is Sojourner Truth, who has come all the way from Michigan to see you." He then arose, gave me his hand, made a bow, and said, "I am pleased to see you." I said to him, "Mr. President, when you first took your seat, I feared you would be torn to pieces, for I likened you unto Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den. And if the lions did not tear you into pieces, I knew that it would be God that had saved you. And I said if he spared me, I would see you before the 4 years expired. And he has done so. And now I am here to see you for myself." He then congratulated me on my having been spared. Then I said, "I appreciate you, for you are the best president who has ever taken the seat." He replied thus, "I expect you have reference to my having emancipated the slaves in my proclamation. But," said he, mentioning the names of several of his predecessors, and among them emphatically that of Washington, "they were all just as good and would have done just as I have done if the time had come. If the people over the river, pointing across the Potomac, had behaved themselves, I could not have done what I have, but they did not, which gave me the opportunity to do these things." I then said, "I thank God that you were the instrument selected by him and the people to do it." I told him that I had never heard of him before he was talked of for president. He smilingly replied, "I had heard of you many times before that." He then showed me the Bible presented to him by the colored people of Baltimore, of which you have no doubt seen a description. I have seen it for myself, and it is beautiful beyond description. After I had looked it over, I said to him, "This is beautiful indeed. The colored people have given this to the head of the government, and that government once sanctioned laws that would not permit its people to learn enough to enable them to read this book. And for what? Let them answer who can. I must say, and I am proud to say, that I was never treated by anyone with more kindness and cordiality than were shown to me by that great and good man, Abraham Lincoln, by the grace of God, President of the United States for 4 years more. He took my little book, and with the same hand that signed the death warrant of slavery, he wrote as follows: For Aunty, Sojourner Truth, October 29th, 1864. A. Lincoln. As I was taking my leave, he arose and took my hand and said he would be pleased to have me call again. I felt that I was in the presence of a friend, and I now thank God from the bottom of my heart that I always have advocated his cause and have done it openly and boldly. I shall feel still more in duty bound to do so in time to come. May God assist me. Now I must tell you something of this place. I found things quite as well as I expected. I think I can be useful and will stay. The captain in command of the guard has given me his assistance, and by his aid I have obtained a little house and will move into it tomorrow. Will you please ask Mrs. P or any of my friends to send me a couple of sheets and a pillow? I find many of the women very ignorant in relation to housekeeping. Most of them were instructed in field labor, but not in household duties. They all seem to think a great deal of me and want to learn the way we live in the North. I am listened to with attention and respect, and from all things, I judge it is the will of both God and the people that I should remain. Now, when you come to Washington, don't forget to call and see me. You may publish my whereabouts and anything in this letter you think would interest the friends of freedom, justice, and truth in the Standard and Anglo-African and any other paper you may see fit. Enclosed, please find 4 shadows, carte de visits. The $2 came safely. Anything in the way of nourishment you may feel like sending, send it along. The captain sends to Washington every day. Give my love to all who inquire for me, and tell my friends to direct all things for me to the care of Captain George B. Carse, Freedman's Village, Virginia. Ask Mr. Oliver Johnson to please send me the Standard while I am here, as many of the colored people like to hear what is going on and to know what is being done for them. Sammy, my grandson, reads for them. We are both well and happy and feel that we are in good employment. I find plenty of friends. Your friend, Sojourner Truth. Now there's a footnote about that. It says carte de visits. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. But it says commonly abbreviated as CDV. The photographs mounted on cards were popular in the mid-1800s. I remember being a little girl, first time I heard about Sojourner Truth, and I was like, wow, she sounds amazing. And I got to read words that came out of her mouth. Wow. One more day in Black History Month, y'all. So until then, if you want to keep hearing these stories, because I'm going to keep reading them after Black History Month, join the community. Have a great day. It's Friday, y'all. Bye.